When most companies approach their outbound sales strategy, not a lot of them really even know where to start. It's an incredibly confusing and ever-changing landscape that makes it really hard to stay on top of. And in this video, I'm just going to go through how to shape the strategy surrounding your go-to-market systems. So as most people know, sales works in a funnel. At the top of the funnel is the discovery, when people find out what you do, what your product does or your service does, and they generate some sort of interest. And as you move further down the funnel, the intent and the interest in your product significantly increases. It is very rare for somebody to go straight to the bottom of the funnel. It generally requires several different touch points, engagements, and points of interest in order to sell your client on a product. At the top of the funnel, several different ways in which to engage with prospects throughout the funnel. Top of the funnel, you have things like outbound sales, outbound email, cold calling, and towards the bottom, you have things more like strategic meetings, sending out contracts, and shaping your general offer so clients convert better towards the bottom. There are several different ways you can actually do outbound sales, whether it's cold calling, reaching out to prospects on LinkedIn, emailing. First thing you have to do is, of course, decide what your ideal client is. Google has billions of people that they would probably say are ideal client for them to obtain, people that are paying customers and happily using their products. So you can narrow it down significantly and look at companies that might only sell one thing. A company that sells butterfly catching nets probably has a much smaller total addressable market than Google would. It's quite difficult to determine who your addressable market is in the beginning if your product hasn't really found its customers yet. It's really important to define what channel you think your prospects will respond to you the best. If you're selling a high-ticket B2B enterprise SaaS, you're probably going to want to look for some of your prospects on LinkedIn. If you're reaching out to influencers and you're trying to be an influencer marketing agency, you might want to go to Instagram to find those types of people. I'm going to go into the most common form of outreach, which of course is messaging. If you're determining the size of your total addressable market, it's going to very highly dictate the type of messaging you're going to be doing to your prospects. If you're Google and you have a massive addressable market of billions of people, probably not in your best interest to individually reach out to every single one of them with a custom value prop. If you have a really small total addressable market, you're probably going to want to reach out to every one of the people that you can sell to individually, and it might even be worth your time because your market is so small that you'll probably get to the end of your market within a few weeks. And using tools like Clay, Smart Leader Instantly, you can even do this with a few thousand. It really depends on the size of your total addressable market. If you have a big market, use numbers to your advantage. Or if you have a really small total addressable market, you don't want to burn all of your leads immediately. You might only have 2,000 or 3,000 of them. In that case, I would really recommend hyper-personalizing your messaging and niching down heavily on who you're reaching out to and what you're saying to them. The smaller your market, the more I would recommend using personalization. It just allows you to have a better efficiency when you're reaching out to your leads. The second thing that your market also addresses is the actual channel that you're using. If you have a list of 1 million people that are your possible clients, cold calling them is going to take a really long time, and you're probably going to run out of money or resources or time by the time you get to the end of your list. Email would work really well for 1 million people because you can just set up 1,000 email sender accounts and reach out to all of them in a relatively quick interval. For a big TAM, I would say probably use email. If you have a medium TAM, I would use email and LinkedIn, the phones, and if small, I would use LinkedIn and the phones as well. It is time to define what your copy is going to be. What is the message that you're sending out to these clients, and at what interval are you sending it out to them? Writing copy is really an art, and it takes a lot of time to develop copy that's actually going to convert well. But a few things to think about are as follows. A, what problems do your product or service solve? Some products only solve one problem. For example, if you have a butterfly net, it really is only going to solve the problem of, I want to catch butterflies in this net. However, if you're Google, there are 1 million problems that you're solving. So you have to define which problems are of the highest value to the person that you're trying to sell to. Moving on to the next step is, what can you offer your client to get them excited about your product? I think the mistake a lot of founders make is that they think their product is a lot cooler than it actually is. So it's really important to think to yourself, are people actually going to be excited by the thing I'm offering them? In some cases, your offer might just not be good enough. People just might not have been able to try your product out, so they're not even able to see how effective it is. If you're a lead generation business, you can offer them a list of 1,000 leads in their current target market. It would show them that you actually know what you're doing. If you're a photo editing service, you can provide them examples of photos that you've done for similar events to the company that you're pitching for. So you have to think to yourself, what is an offer that is A, relevant to my product's offering, B, exciting enough for a client to say yes to, and C, ideally profitable, unless you're just trying to get a few clients to get case studies in which maybe you don't have to do that. The next thing you should be thinking about when writing copy is, what attributes in a person or company signal that that client or prospect would be interested in your service or product. If you're providing fractional HR services, it's likely that companies who are doing a significant amount of hiring, especially in the early stages of their company, might be looking for your services. In this case, you'd obviously want to reach out to those types of people, but also on a copy side, you're going to probably want to reference that at some point in the copy to show the client that you know the problem they're experiencing and you have a relevant and immediate solution to it. Another example is if you're a running store and you have logs of all the people who have have bought shoes from you in the past 6 months. You can probably estimate that those running shoes have gone bad or they've been run through in the past 4 months or so. So you can go back and find the clients that have bought shoes 4 months or more ago and reach out to them, referencing how long it's been since they bought their last pair of shoes. It's great to identify what attributes would signal a prospect's interest because A, it allows you to define even narrower who you should be reaching out to, and B, it's something that you can reference in the copy itself to further show your relevance to the prospect's problem. We're next going to move to just some basic elements of copy that you should keep in mind. The first thing is keep it short, keep it concise. The second thing is that copy should have a pretty set series of events. The first thing is some sort of customized intro line showing your relevance to the prospect needs. The second is a problem statement, pretty much the thing that the client is likely experiencing due to the information that you've gathered about them. The third thing is your value proposition. Of course, the thing that your company can do to solve the problem that you mentioned in the problem statement. And the fourth thing is the offer, which I just talked about earlier on how to form. I would recommend doing 4 messages in a message sequence. So I decided to include some example copy for an email sequence that I sent for one of my clients. The first email says, "Congrats on your new position at whatever company it is." This is referencing something relevant to the person, ideally getting their attention. I'm assuming that as whatever job title you're probably creating reports like a list of custom reports that I'm generating for prospect. From there, I'm saying, "I allow you to create reports in seconds with visualization and integration better than Sheets and Excel. It's also easy to use. Would you be interested in trying if I gave you 3 months for free?" I address problems the client is likely experiencing, and I offer them 3 months for free of the tool to reduce the friction in using it. For the second email, I pretty much just reshaped the value prop in a different way. So I said, "I noticed that your company works with whatever technology it is. I imagine integrating it with your current analytics has been annoying. So I'm addressing that problem immediately. So I'd love to show you the company. We directly integrate with technology with no code required to build reports. I'd be down to hop on a call and help you set up this report for free. Any interest?" Email 3, I saw that you're hiring for a job title. We can make operations reports easy to read for your entire team, so everybody is more informed on actionable data within the company. So we're pretty much just saying, "Hey, I saw you're hiring for this job title," which means you're hiring, which means you have new team members, which probably means you want everybody to be able to read operations reports, which we can do very easily for you. So now I'm saying, how about I give you 6 free months? And then the last email just being, "Is there somebody else that's better to talk to about my company?" After you get a campaign set up, it's time to get working on lower volume but a higher response rate outreach. I highly recommend having a campaign running in the background while you focus on the more one-to-one sales. For example, you can have a campaign doing inbound led outbound. An example of this would be using tools like RB2B, sending them into Clay, and then reaching out to people who visited your website recently. A second one would be multi-touch campaigns. So for example, if you're reaching out to people with email and LinkedIn simultaneously. And a third one would be rerunning through all of the lists that you've reached out to in the past after 3 or 4 months and re-engaging with them to see if it's a better time for them to be engaging with your product or service. Let's say that your top of funnel is completely built out. You've got a campaign running with copy that's working relatively well. You've iterated several times and you already have a pretty good positive response rate for your messaging campaigns. Then it's time to actually get into the sales calls, which is a little bit further down the funnel, but kind of an inevitability for any high ticket item or service. You're going to have to get on sales calls more than likely to close clients. It is actually impossible to outline every way in which you should be selling your product or service on a sales call. And of course, it varies so differently depending on who you're reaching out to, what thing you're selling, and how long the sales cycle usually takes for your product or service. Let me go into a few just baseline principles for how to conduct your sales calls. The first one is asking tons of relevant questions to your client. A sales call should be about learning your client's needs to see if they're a good fit for your product or service. And if they are, tell them how your product or service can actually help them in solving their problem. Once the client presents their entire problem set specific to their company, it's time to present your value prop and how it addresses all the problems that the client stated in the call. Well, you get on a call with a water balloon company and they're saying, "Our customers are so mad because their water balloons are not breaking when they throw them at people." You presenting your value prop should be just directly addressing whatever the client said to you previously. Listening to them is so imperative. Just saying, "Our water balloons are really good," isn't going to hit nearly as hard as "Our water balloons burst immediately on impact no matter how hard you throw them." You should address exactly what the prospect said on the call that is causing their problem and how your product can help solve it. After you give them your spiel about your product and why it's so great and wonderful, your prospect will inevitably have objections. It is so best to just address them all head on. Immediately address every single one of the objections that they faced with your answer to that objection. It is always better to just tell them the truth. Maybe their objections actually have some validity, and in that case, just be honest with them. I think they'll be a lot more appreciative of that in the long run, and you'll just have a better client experience as a whole. If the client seems, after this entire process, to be pretty strongly against your core offering, it's time to give them alternatives. It's best to have alternatives set up so you can close them on some sort of deal, even if they're not interested in maybe your head or core offering or the highest ticket item that you have. This, of course, has to do with pricing as well, but I would say it's very important to have alternatives to suggest to clients just in case they have a specific use case that fits pretty well, but maybe they don't have the budget or maybe they don't have the exact resources that they can allocate to the thing that you're offering them. them. Once the call has kind of run its course, it's also super important to define next steps. Ideally, things to send the client after the call, or even better, a follow-up call of some kind. If you're selling a relatively low ticket item, maybe you don't even need a follow-up call and they're just going to purchase your item. It's really important to have solid follow-ups that actually give them value every time you email them. I would probably provide them some more value or even give them some more context as to the thing that you're sending them to help them move further along the sales funnel. You should also have all of your pricing and packages completely defined and presentable. So ideally, if a client asks for it on a call, they can send it to their superiors, and it has very clearly defined everything that is involved in your product or service to help better sell it. From there, you can take proper next steps to fully close a client, have them say, let's do this, let's give it a try. Let me buy your product, let me try your service, and you have yourself a client. As a whole, I really hope this video was helpful for you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. It would mean a lot if you subscribe to the channel. Feel free to drop any comments with anything you think I missed or suggestions for new videos. I hope you guys have a good one. Happy prospecting.